Guys, Era What If's here back again with another What If, and today we'll be doing a redo with What If Issei was dragonkin and betrayed. It's a rainy day, and we see our main protagonist, Issei Hyoto, on the ground, spewing blood from his mouth. Wondering why was he the one to get betrayed after giving his all to Rias, Kiba, and all his friends. And to those wondering, how did Issei get here? Well, flashback. Issei's on the battlefield fighting Riser for his life so that he won't get his hands on Rias, the woman that he thought loved him and the woman he loved so dearly. As he's fighting on the battlefield, he gets impaled from the back as he turns around and sees that it's his friend, Kiba. And Issei asks why Kiba would do this to him, as Kiba just starts laughing. And then Issei realizes that everyone's laughing. Everyone on the battlefield, everyone in the stands, even Rias. As Rias comes down and tells Issei that this was all a part of the plan. This is what they wanted to happen. They wanted Issei to be all caught up in this battle for her so that they could kill him. Because they couldn't let the Red Dragon Emperor's gauntlet be in the hands of someone like him. A pervert, a distasteful human. Someone like him can never wield the power of the great Red Dragon Emperor. As Kiba pulls a sword out and slices Issei's throat. And they cut his arm off, stripping him from the power of the Red Dragon Emperor by taking the gauntlet. As everyone leaves, it starts to rain. As Issei is there by himself, holding on to his last thread of life, wondering, why did it have to be him? What did he ever do to be treated like this, to be betrayed? As Issei starts to see the light, he closes his eyes, accepting his fate. After a while, Issei wakes up, opening his eyes to see himself in the heavenly realm. Thinking he died, Issei is depressed and bummed out about it, but still accepts his fate as there's nothing that he can do about it. But then, Issei sees a man on the throne. Not realizing who it was at first, he just walks straight past him. Well, not past him. No, let me rephrase. Not noticing who it is at first, as the man greets him, but then, as he starts to rub his eyes, as anyone would do when they wake up, he realizes it's the Jade Emperor, meeting him on the few occasions before, knowing that it was him. The Jade Emperor always had a liking for Issei Hyoto, but since he was in Rias' barrage, he could never do anything about it. But since Rias and the gang betrayed Issei like this, he took his chance to save Issei and take him to the heavenly realm so he could train him. Issei, wondering why the Jade Emperor would do this, asks him that exact question. Why? The Jade Emperor says because he sees a little bit of himself in Issei. And even though Issei acts dumb sometimes and a little perverted, he still sees a little bit of himself in there. So he decides to train Issei and says, I'll be one of the masters training you. You will be trained by a few others, and also you'll be given a second chance at life. But before that, we must train you so you can never be betrayed like that ever again. As Issei starts to train with the Jade Emperor, he realizes the difference in power and how strong he must become to be able to beat someone like that or to never be betrayed again. Time skip, let's say, 1,000,000 years. And the time in the heavenly realm is different from the time in, let's say, the regular universe. So 1,000,000 years, not even half a day would pass in the regular universe. So Issei trains for 1,000,000 years, learning all of the Jade Emperor's techniques and even becoming more proficient than him. But still, he has a long way to go because he hasn't obtained all the yin yang and 2 dragons that the Jade Emperor has. Because once he's done with his training, he'll have everything the Jade Emperor has, all the yin yangs and the 2 dragons. And Issei is only at about 4 of those on each side, so he's almost done. And his colors aren't purple and red; they're more of a they're more of a red and white, symbolizing his aura and his dragon lineage. As Issei keeps training, he realizes his body starts to change. And he realizes his hair is getting longer, and he's starting to see white tips at the end of his hair. And 2 small hard dots at the top of his forehead. Not thinking much of it, Issei keeps training with the Jade Emperor for a couple 100,000 years, until he's completely mastered all his techniques and became more proficient in them, even creating some of his own. And he's reached all the yin yangs and the 2 dragons. As Issei thinks this is the end of his training and he'll be sent back down to the Earth realm, the Jade Emperor tells him that he still hasn't received all his gifts yet. As Issei, wondering what it is, asks him. And the Jade Emperor says that he'll be trained for a couple million years by people that even rival his strength. Issei, wondering who it is, asks this exact question. And the Jade Emperor says he'll be trained by Sun Wukong and Buddha. As Issei is shocked by this, because he'll be trained by the 3 strongest beings to ever live in this universe. And he starts to get a little excited, because he's never felt cared for like this ever in his life. He's never had someone be this nice to him, give him so much love, appreciate him like the Jade Emperor has. And after a while, Issei breaks down crying, because still, after all this time, after all these years, he still couldn't trust anyone because of how he was betrayed by Reese and Parage. But after seeing how kind the Jade Emperor was and all the things that he's doing for him to make sure that he's the best person he can possibly be, he starts to break down and cry. And then he gets up, wipes his tears off of his face, and says that he won't disappoint the Jade Emperor, and one day he'll become even stronger than him. The Jade Emperor smiles and sends him off on his way, as Issei goes to meet Buddha and Sun Wukong. Issei first starts his training with Sun Wukong as he learns to become proficient in the staff. Becoming proficient in the staff is very hard for Issei, who's been fighting with gauntlets and swords for most of his life when he was in Rias Parage. So before he becomes proficient, it takes him more over 2 million years. 2 million years at the most. Sun Wukong notices something about Issei. Every time he hits him with a move, Issei perfectly replicates it. As Sun Wukong realizes, and says even out loud to Issei, that he's a genius. But Issei doesn't think so at all, because he hasn't realized his true potential at all. And as Issei keeps training with Sun Wukong, becoming more proficient in all of his Sun Wukong's techniques, and even creating some of his own like he did with the Jade Emperor, the little dots on Issei's head start to grow. And Issei realizes this as he looks in the mirror, that these are horns. And he realizes that he's part dragon. As he tells this to Sun Wukong, and Sun Wukong realizes this, as he's shocked and realizes Issei could be one of the strongest people, even rivaling the Jade Emperor, him, and Buddha himself. Because of this dragon blood, Issei is able to analyze anyone's moves, and as he takes a hit by it, completely understand their technique. And this is why Issei was able to become proficient in Sun Wukong's techniques so fast, for someone who's never even held a bow before. As Issei finally gets done with his training, his hair has grown immensely longer, and the white tips have become more prominent, taking over most of his hair. And as his dragon blood starts to kick in and his horns grow, his eye color starts changing, and his body starts to morph as well, becoming more built and strong over the years. When Issei starts to train with Buddha, it's mostly just cultivation, because Buddha's trying to teach Issei to reach enlightenment, to become one with the universe, to reach nirvana. This takes Issei the most amount of time because he actually has to deal with himself and become one with the universe. He has to deal with all his trauma and shed it all away. Since this is so hard for Issei, after being betrayed by multiple people and the one he loves, and still having that deep within his heart, even though he thought it went away and he recovered from it, this takes him around 500 million years to deal with all the pain and suffering that was deep within his heart, shutting it away from him to become a new person. As Issei reaches enlightenment, his hair turns fully white and his eyes become a deep golden. And after this time, Issei looks in the mirror and sees these new changes to his body. His horns have grown longer, the difference in eye color, and his vastly long snow white hair. As Buddha teaches Issei everything that he knows, even all his cultivation techniques, so Issei can continue to become stronger, he also teaches Issei about the lotus barrier technique, the strongest barrier ever known in the universe. But before Issei can do that, he has to learn the basics about barrier magic. And so that takes another 3 million years, because as I said before, Issei has dragon blood, so all Buddha had to do was hit him a couple times with his barrier magic for him to be able to learn the basics. And the rest of those years was spent learning the lotus barrier technique. As Issei gets done with his training, all his masters, including the Jade Emperor, Buddha, and Sun Wukong, come together to give Issei some gifts. As they're giving them the gifts, one of them included the immortal peach. As Issei gets this from Sun Wukong, who gives him, let's say, an infinite amount of these peaches, and all Issei needs to do is eat one to become immortal, and after that, all the other peaches will just amp his power by a little each time. The second gift from the Jade Emperor is a spear. The heavenly dividing spear is what the Jade Emperor gives Issei. And then the last gift by Buddha is a robe that Issei is wearing in this picture. Issei thanks all his masters for everything that they've done for him and bows his head in respect.